Good morning. Hopefully the webcam was okay. I knocked it off earlier when I was cleaning my monitor. Right. Okay, good morning and let's crack on. Today's the 24th of October 2023 and we're going to go over today's anything that could move the market today and look at some earnings so we can see what we expect today. So no real news today, nothing of high importance. Maybe we've got a little bit of PMI at 9:45, comes out 2 out of 3 on the scale. So maybe just keep an eye in the first 15 minutes of the market. And earnings today, I'm pretty sure it's Google and Microsoft, I think I read. Yeah, Microsoft and Google are the two biggest ones. And so that's after hours as well. So nothing to worry about, but be a bit wary trading those stocks today. So on my screen is the 1 hour MES, which is the same as the esfutures S&P 500 index. Excuse me. And we're going to quickly go over a few levels today. Right away I can see that the Nasdaq is slightly weaker than the MES or the ES S&P, so potentially we may see a trade in Nasdaq later, but I'll go over that when we get to that chart. Okay, so on my screen we're looking at the hourly time frame and we've got a couple of good levels still in from yesterday. I took a short here yesterday, which was a good short, and I used basically the bottom of this supply zone and a previous level, and that's an area I'm watching again today. So I'm looking for excuse me, I'm looking for a double top coming into that area. I'm going to be watching volume as well, and if we get a big volume push through that area, I'll be looking for a break and retest long with a target of this 4300 as the next area to target. If we see maybe a big move up in the open, maybe a couple of big candles and then a spike through that level, then I may be looking to try and catch it on the reverse candle back down. 1 second. Sorry about that, I didn't want to cough into the microphone. I've got a bit of a croaky throat today, I've done for a few days. So that's an area I'm watching, 42.79, 42.80, that area for a rejection. And that will be a higher probability rejection, but I'm looking for confirmation. And with confirmation I mean a candle like this one up here. So big push up into the level. Maybe I said I'm looking for a couple of bigger bars in, not a grinding move up like that one. And then I'm looking for a reversal candle just like that into the level, and I'll be looking to take the break of the candle down. I may, if I don't see any high volume, just add maybe 1 or 2 contracts within that zone. So when we get into that area, I'll play by ear and watch what we're getting. As for bounces, just to confirm also, we have finally broken and closed above the 50 moving average, which is still downward trailing, but it's starting to curve around. And the 20 moving average, we closed above it yesterday, broke below it, and until we know, we don't know which way the market's going to go, so that's why I'm watching that area. Let's look at the daily quickly to see. You can see I've put a few trend lines in on the daily. So we've got this downward trend line here, and we've got this steeper downward trend line there as well, and we could be expected maybe to move back up into that area potentially, and that will be 43.50. so that's an area I'll be watching for as well. So 43.50, let's mark that up on it as a daily level. Template daily. So then I'll see that when we go back into the hourly. So that's another level I'm potentially waiting for a rejection around here. At the moment you can see we're putting in a series of lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, and lower low yesterday. And we could be just looking for a bit of a pullback. We're putting that low on big volume as well, or increased volume coming into that area. Not significant volume if you compare previous candle. So that candle there, look at that, was similar size. You could argue take similar size candle, but that continued the move down from that point, and we've got a similar size candle here, although it's not a wick candle like this one. Look at this candle, we've got a big upper wick and a smaller bottom wick. This one here is pretty decisively a bearish candle with smaller wicks, but similar volume, so similar volume to that one. So potentially we may be looking at continuation as it did before, but we may be looking for a bit of a pullback first. So go back into the hourly, let's see where that daily level brings us. So that brings us right up into this zone up here. So 43.50, 43, is that right? Let me just double check. 43.65 is an area I'm watching, and that's just a rough area. So 43.65. I've already got some hourly markers and levels in there as well. So seeing a daily will give me more. If I'm just looking at it, I'm going to change that to downward trend line reversal. That's just as a reminder, so I know what I'm looking for. Because I have the I mainly have the hourly open and the 5-minute open and the 15-minute. I may not always have the daily, looking at the daily. So that's what but basically that's a big level, a higher probability rejection area as well, off of this downward trend line. And then, so 43.65 rejection, and it'll be a nice double top off of there as well. So there's a few reasons to take that trade. Downward trend line, an area of supply, and a previous top as well, previous pivot, and you can see bottoms of candles as well. And I'm sure if I zoom out, there's lots more bottom. Yeah, look at that. So that's a perfect area. So this is a high probability area to go for a rejection. And the reason I say that is like, it looks like the neckline, or it's the area of confluence, bottoms of candles, tops, bottoms, tops, tops. So what was the floor is now the ceiling, and potentially we could see the ceiling in there as well. So that's really what I'm watching for. Don't know if it get there today, but if it does, then it'll be a big move up, and it would be pretty exhausted by the time it gets there, making it even nicer of a move. But probably something to watch for the next few days. As for bounces, I debated this morning. I looked at the levels, and we've got this high risk bounce here, and I don't know if you can see this, but we've got a potential inverse head and shoulders pattern. It kind of broke the structure a bit. Not a big fan of it. We could say the neckline happens to be one of our levels, what we're watching, or what we were watching yesterday. I may take it depending on how the market's moving. 423.37.50 as a potential bounce. That's a lower, higher probability, but wait for confirmation, because what I'm really waiting for is yesterday's low, and that would be 42.20 to 42.17 area. This entire area to watch for. This is a higher probability bounce I really want. This is a higher risk bounce, and you could say this is a higher risk bounce as well, because we're quite close to where it is now, but that's one of the areas I'm watching. 42.79 today. And of course we've got 4300 psychological number, and I've got a level at 43.02 as well as a potential rejection area. So again, with confirmation, if we're seeing some big moves up, like we've got some big candles like these, then I may just get a limit order in and try and catch it if it touches it and rejects. But that's really it. Levels are not that great today, but they're the ones I'm watching for. Just to recap, high probability rejection, and it's a downward trend line reversal area, so up here at 43.65, and a higher probability bounce at 42.20 to 42.13 area. And you can see I added a new line today. In fact, I went back a few months to see what we bounced off of yesterday, and there was a nice area of consolidation, lots of candles where it was just consolidating, and I wasn't even aware how close we were, so I put the line in, looked at yesterday's low, and lo and behold, it touched it there smack bang on. I missed that area in my previous analysis, but I've got it back in now, and that's why I quite like it to come back down for a double bottom potentially. So that's it really. I'm not going to watch anything else. I'm going to try and keep it simple. I just want to take 1 or 2 trades. Moving on to SPY. Similar setups to the ES. We got the rejection off of yesterday's high. We got this higher probability rejection at 4:30, and let's just make some changes to this. I still like that level. 424.50 as a potential rejection. That's with confirmation, relatively higher probability, only because we saw a big move up and then a big move down. So this is an area of potential supply as well. If we get up to this area, 430, 431, that's a potential rejection area as well. So these should, obviously we have not updated them, but they should be red now in colour. And I'll do that a bit later. It's just to remind me so that when I see it coming into that zone, I know what I'm watching for. It kind of, there we go, makes me feel better now. This one should be green, red as well because we're below it, but that's fine. So, and then as for bounces, yesterday's lows are higher risk at 420, 420.60 that area, but obviously we've got this, again, I'm calling it a head and shoulders structure, but I'm not 100% convinced. The neckline is not quite. We could say maybe if we come and join that neckline, that is the neckline, and that could go with what I was saying. If we see a bit of a grind up, a break and retest long, and that's a break of the neckline, break and retest neckline, which I do like those plays. I like to see a better defined shoulder, and I don't really like that shoulder. That's why I don't really like this pattern. But we're looking for a bounce at 417.80 as well. 418 is an area to watch for a bounce, and that's a higher probability. So going into Qs, it was looking weaker than SPY earlier, but it doesn't look too bad on here. So Qs, we're going to watch that area 359.50 maybe, 3 to 360 as a potential rejection. 364 to 365 as a higher probability rejection, and it's coming into the 200 moving average, but it is a sideways 200 moving average, and potentially it could be looking to start curving back round. And then I like the bounce at 351 to 352 area. That's probably all I'd consider. There's nothing really in between. So just that. Nasdaq. Again, the bottom, we see what we've done in Nasdaq. We broke through, we spiked it and rejected it. So I quite like a double bottom back down at 14,500 roughly, that area. 14,500, maybe 14,525 as a bounce. I meant not a rejection. And for a rejection, this area, which is 14,870 approximately. I've got a fibs in there somewhere. Was that fibs come from? It goes that way. And in fact, while we're here, let's look at fibs. So we've got a 50%, not my normal fibs colours, but we've got a 50% at this area, 15,000. Look at that. So talk about round numbers and fib and the voodoo of fibs. 15,000 as a potential rejection because that's the fibs from this high to low. And it's a round number. It's probably an area I'll be watching anyway because we've got the line. Okay, there we go. My line's already drawn in at that area as well. So if you want a bit of voodoo magic, then go with the fibs at 15,000 exactly. Nice round number. And you can see I've already got a level there as well. And it's an area of supply, and volume is above average volume if you take the entire range into consideration. And that's it really. Bottom 14,520, the fibs area 15,000, and potentially we've got 14,870 for rejection. This area we came into yesterday. So 15,860. And then we're looking at oil. We talked about this a few days ago. I said if it breaks the structure, it looks like it wanted to break it when I spoke about it. Was it yesterday? I think it was. And it did exactly that. Wasn't really a good retest back up, so I didn't take it. But we are looking weak. Or I wouldn't say weak. We're still in. If you look at the daily, it's still just a healthy pullback on the daily. An area to take. I do quite like where it is right now, 85.50, and that's purely because we bounced there once, we bounced there twice. It was the ceiling originally, and we got this higher congested volume, and we got the point of control running straight through it. So potentially we could be looking at a bounce at 85 exactly. That's an area to watch. High risk bounce because we're quite close to it, and we're putting in a bit of an hourly downtrend. We've broken that pivot as well, so yeah, just be careful. If we can get back down to these levels, you know, if you look at it, we're putting in a higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, excuse me, higher high, potentially a higher low. We could say we're around that area. I suppose we need to physically break it and come back or something. But we have broken this structure, so it is broken the upward trend line. Yeah. And again, we've got this higher concentrated volume as well. You can see that with this point of control and this higher condensed volume. So we could see a bit of congestion around this area, and it may just give us a push back up, or we could see it break back down, who knows. So I would say watch 85 for a high risk bounce. And then going into daily, you can see we're still in a daily uptrend. We're breaking there, higher high, higher low. We could be doing something like that. So not too worried. I think a couple of days pullback is quite healthy. That's been on a bit of a run for a few days. But yeah, still this area, 85 we talked about a second ago. And then on the daily, we've got this area where the point of control is, so 78. 78 is a potential bounce area as well, and that's the area I wanted to get it originally. So I'll be happy if it comes back down to there and we see it push back up. I'll be happy with that. Right, that's it really. I'll just go back and just go over levels for MES or ES. So we've got this high probability rejection at 43.60, and that's the downward trend line. I expect it to be a couple of days before we get there. We've got another higher probability rejection at 42.79, 42.80 area, and that's yesterday's high where it rejected a big rejection there yesterday. And I'm watching yesterday's low as well for a potential bounce. And again, I'll be watching volume. If I see a big volume push through this area, then I'll probably be looking for a retrace and push back up, so a break and retest. And again, I'll be watching this 43.37, 43.80, 43.40 area. If we are seeing significant weakness, I may look for a break and retest low, but a higher risk bounce in that area as well. And also, if you go back to the daily, you see it's actually at the bottom of this trend line I drew as well. You can't quite see it as a blue trend line. The point of control is actually, if I zoom in and out, no, the point of control is just below, but that adds to it actually, because we've got this blue trend line which I'm linking up these candles, and we've got this higher congested volume as well around this area. So it was very likely we were going to bounce there anyway, but if we come back down we could see another bounce. We've got to get through all this volume before we can break down through it. So okay, well, have a good day's trading, trade safe and keep your risk